Hi, Coach Marv here. People often ask me, why do I still miss somebody who's treated me so badly? And there's three main things that are going on here. The first is a trauma bond. If you're watching this video, you've probably done plenty of research, watched videos, and you've heard of trauma bonds before. For our purposes, a trauma bond is an attachment, an emotional attachment to somebody who's hurt you. And what happens after you've established this, that begins to feel familiar, and so it can happen over and over again. These are trauma bonds are typically things that start early in life. They don't have to, but they frequently do. So what happens is, let's imagine a small child who is in an unsafe home environment, could be parents, caregivers, whoever it is, and it's unsafe. Perhaps they're being abused emotionally, physically, whatever it is, but there are parts of that relationship that are unsafe. So let's assume this is a child who's living in a home with an alcoholic parent who, when drinking, is abusive in some way. Usually, what happens for a small child is their survival instinct or their survival reflex kicks in. That's what we usually think of as fight, flight, or freeze mode. But a small child can't really run away, certainly can't fight back. And so what they do instead is they attach themselves to the person who's abusing them or hurting them. Now that seems completely contradictory, especially since we are all wired at birth to survive, and we'll do almost anything to survive. And so why would they attach themselves to someone who's hurting them? And the answer is because if you think about the fear of alone or fear of abandonment, that's even more powerful oftentimes than whatever abuse you're receiving. And so they're stuck between these two hard things. I'm being hurt, I'm abused, being taken advantage of. But if I was alone, it would be worse. And so they attach themselves in the hope that if they're nicer, if they please them more, that the treatment will improve. This is frequently the beginnings of people pleasing, perfectionism, and those sorts of things. But it becomes familiar. It's just kind of like this is how the world works. And later on in life, when that kind of confusion comes up in a relationship, first thing that they feel is, oh, well, that seems familiar. Maybe that's what love is. So that trauma bond that causes you to attach yourself to someone who's hurting you or to really struggle with leaving them is the first thing that makes you still miss them. The second thing is what we call codependency. And in this, it's a little different than you might have heard. When you're in a narcissistic or a highly controlling or toxic relationship, the odds are pretty good that you're more sensitive than the average person. This might mean that you have a big heart and that you don't set boundaries or you don't have boundaries because you don't want to be taken away from being able to help people. And so you will hurt yourself before you'll hurt someone else. Now, you'll always protect them. You'll make excuses for them. And this kind of identity of I'm a person who helps may spill into your profession. You might be in the medical field or the education, someplace where you're able to really do a lot of good helping other people. The problem with that is when you're dealing with somebody who also has no boundaries, let's say a narcissistic personality, they will take advantage of that. And they see that as a vulnerability, and they will seek out people who have that characteristic. And so codependency is one of the things that keeps you thinking, oh, maybe if I love them enough, or I love them better, or I didn't do this, or I did do that. And you maybe even take upon yourself the thought that this may be my fault. Certainly, they've told you that everything is your fault. But if you begin to think, well, maybe it is my fault, then that keeps you bound to this person. The last thing is grief. So grief is very real. When you fall in love with a highly controlling or a narcissistic type personality, they, in the love bombing stage, did everything right. Everything they said, everything they did, they knew exactly what buttons to push for you to inspire you to fall in love with them, and it worked. You probably also felt some red flags, but because it seemed so perfect, you probably overrode those red flags and stayed in it, and before long you couldn't get out of it. When that mask comes off and they turn out not to actually be the person that they pretended to be when you fell in love, it feels like the person you fell in love with actually died. And the grief of that loss and the hopes and dreams that you had for the future with that person are also lost. And that is a very deep and true grief, just as though they really had died. So when you combine these three things together, the grief we just talked about, the codependence, where your identity, who you are, your highest values of helping other people, put you second to them. And then the trauma bond, where sticking with or attaching yourself to somebody who is abusive feels familiar to you, and maybe even you grew up thinking this is what love is. Those three things together are incredibly powerful influences that really come from patterns in your nervous system. And that's what makes you hang on to people, makes you miss them once they're gone, or miss them if they just are gone for the day. You wake up in the morning and wonder, where are they? What are they doing? How are they feeling? And it's important to recognize that none of this is logical. This is all emotional. For the most part, we hold trauma in our bodies, and it's a nervous system pattern. So if any of this has felt useful to you or it rings a bell, I offer regular half-hour free demonstrations on the patterns for how to get out of this. I'm going to demonstrate one of those for you right now. So when we're trying to resolve or release this attachment or this missing somebody, we have to manage it not just by thinking about it and talking about it, but we also have to involve your body. We use somatic kinds of techniques. So I'm going to teach you a really simple one here. And the idea behind this is to help you get out of survival mode, which what happens. So you may have felt like you were walking on eggshells around this person in your life. And that is a sign of survival mode, where you've got the fight, flight, freeze syndrome going on. And that's where the attachment to the person who's hurting you comes out. So there are a few things that are happening when you're in survival mode. The first thing is your body literally will tense up. You won't even know it. You won't recognize it, but it will brace itself for danger. And so the first thing we do is we try and release that tension. The second thing that happens is your survival response throws certain hormones into your bloodstream, cortisol and adrenaline mostly. And when those are present, they move the blood out of your head and your gut and into your arms and legs so that you can be prepared to run away or protect yourself, fight back. When that happens, you don't have as much thinking power. The blood's kind of less in your brain. And so you get what we call brain fog. So that's the second thing we need to work on, is getting blood back into your brain. And the last thing that happens is, or that we're going to talk about, is your heart starts to race. It's like what happens whenever you're afraid. Your heart starts beating faster. And all of those things signal to your vagus nerve that you're in danger. And your vagus nerve manages this survival mode in your body. So to turn it down or to even turn it off, we're going to approach each of those things. So the first thing I want you to do is notice. We're going to just focus on the muscles in your jaw and maybe in your face. But take a minute, feel the muscles in your jaw. Just notice as you release them that you start to feel a little more calm. You might also want to release the muscles in your forehead, behind your eyes, maybe in your ears at the same time. That is a direct signal to your vagus nerve that right here and right now, I'm okay. So that's step one. Step two is we're going to do bilateral tapping. So by tapping on opposite sides alternately, could be on your upper arms, your shoulders, collarbones. This signals to your body to put more blood back in your brain so that your brain fog will clear. And the next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to slow your heart down. And we're going to do that with something called rescue breathing. There's a couple of variations to do this, but I'm going to demonstrate for you how we're going to do it. I'm going to take 3 gasps and then hold my breath and then breathe out slowly. So I'm going to go. So now we're going to put all of these things together. I will count out the breathing for you. We're going to breathe out to the count of 6. We'll gasp in to the count of 3. So first of all, I want you to just notice any tension in your face and release it. Consciously release those muscles in your face, scalp, but especially your jaw. Then we're going to start tapping. And as we tap now, I'm going to have you breathe with me. So gasp, 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 and hold. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more times. Gasp, 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 and hold. And release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Gasp, 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 and hold. And release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, shake it off. Take a deep cleansing breath. Now just scan your body and notice you feel a little bit more calm. Brilliant. Hope that's helpful to you. If you're interested in more of this, I'd love to have you join me. In the description to this video, you'll see a link that'll allow you to join my free 30-minute demonstration of a longer version of this kind of a release that will help you when you're panicky or feeling anxious or just like you're walking on eggshells. Love to have you join. Thank you.